Chapter 4, Gifts from Swan Circling. Kaya watched as Claw Necklace, Tota, and two other men saddled their horses and rode off to search for Swan Circling. Kaya couldn't believe that anything bad could have happened to her friend. She was so young, so strong. Maybe she'd fallen off her horse and it had run away from her. Surely she was coming home on foot and the men would soon meet up with her. In the meantime, here was her bag, still hanging on the saddle horn. Kaya ran with the bag to find Bear Blanket. The medicine woman was running alone and her baby, who lay gasping in the baby swing. Bear Blanket opened the bag and took out a handful of bark. "This is the good medicine I asked for," she said. "Tots!" Running Alone exclaimed. "I knew Swan Circling wouldn't fail us." Kaya dug her fingernails into her palms as she gazed down at the baby's red face and dry lips. Would blisters soon break out on her cheeks? Her people had never seen the men with pale faces, but their sicknesses had killed many Nimipu. "Tell me," she asked fearfully, "did the baby have the bad sickness that kills?" "Not bad," Bear Blanket said quickly. "She has a weakness in her chest." Kaya unclenched her fist. "Will the medicine help her then?" "I'll make a healing drink with it," Bear Blanket said. Soon she'll breathe more easily. Go rest, Kaya. There's nothing you can do now." Kaya was warm under a blanket of woven strips of rabbit fur, but she couldn't sleep. Her thoughts were with Swan Circling, who was somewhere in the darkness and the cold wind. Perhaps she built herself a lean-to for shelter, as Kaya had done when she escaped from the enemies. Or maybe, any moment now, Swan Circling would come walking into the lodge with Claw Necklace. She had to be all right. Kaya slept fitfully. Before first light, she awoke to a cold draft on her cheeks. She pushed up onto her elbow. A few people were stirring in the lodge, and someone had pulled back the covering of the doorway. Had Swan Circling returned? Kaya crawled from underneath her blanket. She saw Isa leaving the lodge, a torch in her hand. Kaya pulled her elk hide robe around her shoulders, followed Isa to the door, and peeked out. The moon had already set, and the sky was turning gray. In the space between the lodges, Isa joined a group of men and women. Kaya saw Kautsa, Pilaka, and other elders wrapped in their robes. Tota was speaking to them, and now she made out Claw Necklace walking toward the lodges. He carried something. Kaya blinked, but she realized it was Swan Circling the Claw Necklace held in his arms. Kaya couldn't get her breath. No! Swan Circling would be all right. She would be. Kaya pulled her robe over her head and hid her face in it. In a moment, she felt firm hands on her shoulders. She lifted her chin and looked up into Kautsa's face. In the gray early light, her grandmother looked very old and very tired. "Our men found her body beside the stream," Kautsa said quietly. "It seems her horse broke through thin ice and stumbled, and she was thrown off. Her head struck a boulder, and the blow killed her." She opened her arms and took Kaya into her warm embrace. Through her tears, Kaya heard Kautsa's gentle voice in her ear. "She was full of light and love," Kautsa said. "It's hard to let her go, but we must help her spirit journey on." Kaya walked in a daze after Swan Circling's death. She felt as if a jagged hole had been torn in her heart. Mixed in with the pain of her friend's death was another pain, one of regret. Oh, why hadn't she quickly called up the courage to tell Swan Circling everything? Now it was too late. Everyone in the village grieved and mourned for Swan Circling. They comforted each other with gentle words and tried to console Claw Necklace, too. Runners took the bad news to neighboring villages. Though it was the heart of winter, one runner volunteered to travel all the way to the big river to tell Swan Circling's family. None of Swan Circling's family lived close enough to help with the burial, so the woman and her husband's family took charge of all the preparations. They got to work right away. The best hide workers took out fresh white deer hides, clean and unused, to make a new dress and moccasins to clothe the body. The women prepared food to serve the whole community after the burial ceremony. Some stayed with the body, never leaving it alone even for a moment. Kaya stayed close to Running Alone and her baby. The medicine had helped light on the water. She wasn't coughing so hard now, and she gazed up at Kaya's face when Kaya rocked the sling and sang to her. Lying in the water didn't need encouragement to sleep, though. She was still weak and listless. Even when the baby slept, Kaya kept singing the lullaby. She's the precious one, my own dear little precious one. She was sure Swan Circling was listening. Until her body was buried, her spirit would stay close by. Kaya was gently rocking the sleeping baby when she thought she heard a canyon wren singing somewhere near the lodge. Kaya cocked her head. Was Swan Circling sending a message to the bird? Kaya went outside to look for it. Wrapped in his antelope hide, Two Hawks was standing near the lodge. He still used a stick for a crutch, but he could put more weight on his leg now. He saw Kaya and leapt over to meet her. When he was in front of her, he put the little flute he'd been working on to his lips. His cheeks puffed out as he played T, the sweet descending notes she'd mistaken for birdsong. That's a pretty little sound, Kaya said. May I look at your flute? He handed it over. His face was solemn, but his dark eyes were lively. She saw that he was proud of what he'd made. The little flute had a good feel in her hands. It was well and carefully made, and Two Hawks had smoothed the wood to a gloss. Toss, she said. Good work, Two Hawks. Runs home helped me, he said. He's my friend now. I see he's helping you with words too, she said. And you've made a good flute. Now you have to learn to play it. I can play, he insisted. He brought the flute to his lips and blew. His eyes narrowed in concentration. T, he played. This time, he was able to add a third note to the song. Two Hawks' success lifted Kaya's sad heart a little. His leg was healing, and he was a happier boy now, and it seemed that lying on the water would get well. But these were things to be thankful for in this dark time. Surely Swan Circling's spirit would find comfort in these things too. Before first light on the third morning after Swan Circling's death, Tota and other men went to the burial place on a rise above the stream to dig a grave. When they sent word that the grave was ready, everyone gathered in the faint light for the ceremony. Swan Circling's body and some of her things had been wrapped in clean hides and fresh mats and placed on a horse-drawn travois. Fighting her tears, Kaya fell with the others, and the body was taken to the burial place, which faded to the east, where the sky would soon brighten. A medicine man with strong spirit powers led the way. He was a short man with a broad chest and shoulders, and he wore a fur headdress set with mounted sheep horns. At the graveside, he praised Swan Circling's strength, her unwavering courage, and her willingness to help her people. He spoke of everyone's sorrow to lose such a good woman. Then he urged her spirit to travel on. At the first streak of dawn stained the pale sky, the men placed the body in the shallow grave and covered it with another mat. First the women, then the men stepped one by one to the grave and dropped in a handful of earth. When it was Kaya's turn, she vowed silently, All my life, I'll think of you. I'll strive to be like you, I promise. But Swan Circling's spirit wouldn't be able to rest until all of her belongings had been given away or burned. But because Itza had been a close friend of Swan Circling, she took charge of the giveaway. In the lodge, Itza placed all of Swan Circling's belongings on a mat. After all the people had eaten the meal the women had prepared, they gathered around the mat. One by one, Tota called them to step forward. With a few words, he gave running along the mortar and pestle. Little Fawn received a digging stick, and Kauta a large parfleche. To Brown Deer he gave a pair of deerskin moccasins. He gave other women and girls Swan Circling's baskets, necklaces, shells, and hides until there was nothing left on the mat by his feet but Swan Circling's saddle. Then Tota motioned for Kaya to come forward. She kept her gaze on her moccasins as her father spoke to her. Claude Necklace told me his wife admired your care for horses and your love of them, he said gently. He's certain she would want you to have her saddle. Kasi Yao Yao, Kaya murmured. Then Tota rubbed his lips with his thumb. He thought a moment. She also wanted you to have something much more important than a saddle, he said. In his deep voice, Tota told how Swan Circling had recently come to him and Itza and asked to speak with them. She told us she had a dark dream, a dream of her death, he said. She wasn't frightened, but she had said that if she should die, she wanted Kaya to have her name. As you know, her name was hers to give as she chose. She was fond of you, Kaya, and she spoke of your special friendship. She believed you would carry her name well. We accepted her gift to you with gratitude. Now a very old woman lifted her head to speak. It was her job to remember how everyone was related to each other. What Kaya's father says is true, she said firmly. I was there when Kaya's parents accepted the name. I say this is so. Kaya hugged the beautiful saddle of painted wood and hide that Tota had handed her. But as she turned and walked back to her place, her mind couldn't take in the second gift that Swan Circling had given. Her name! That was the greatest gift anyone could give. Kaya's thoughts rushed back and forth between gratitude and doubt. How honored she was to have been given her friend's name. But could she truly be worthy of it? And would Swan Circling have given it if she'd known Kaya's failures? If only Swan Circling were here for a scene to Kaya that her friend was the one person who could quiet these racing doubts and fears. But Kaya was alone with her torn feelings. She also wanted you to have something much more important than the saddle, he said. It wasn't until that night that Kaya could talk with her mother. Itza had heated stones in the fire and was putting them into a water basket to boil deer meat. She stirred the hot stones rapidly to keep them from scorching the basket. Kaya crouched by her side. Itza, I'm troubled about my namesake, Kaya said, careful not to say the name of the dead out loud. Itza lifted up the cold stones with a forked stick and put in more hot ones. What troubles you, daughter? She asked. I don't think she'd have given me her name if she'd known the mistakes I've made, Kaya admitted. I never told her about my nickname or how I got myself in Speaking Rain taken captive. When Itza glanced at her, Kaya saw her mother's eyes soften. But there's nothing to be troubled about, Itza said. She knew about your nickname, but she said it didn't matter to her, and she said it took great strength to leave your sister behind, and that you were wise to do so. She said that to you? Kaya asked. Itza assured her. She often spoke about you. She told me she had confidence that you would grow to be trustworthy and strong, and she said you have a generous heart, daughter, which you do. It's not time for you to use her name yet, but when that time comes, you'll know. Is anything else troubling you? Kaya pressed her lips together and shook her head. Her heart was full. She was afraid that if she spoke, she burst into tears of both gratitude and relief. The next morning, Kaya sat with her little brothers on her rabbit fur blanket. The twins lay on their stomachs with their chins in their hands. They were watching as she shaped and tied long pine needles to make 3 little horses. Is one of those horses for me? Wingfeather asked. If my brother gets a toy, so do I, Sparrow demanded. Don't I, Kaya? Yes. One of these horses is for you, she said, tapping Wingfeather on his nose. And one's for you, she told Sparrow and tugged his braid. Kaya put the finishing touches on the little horses and handed one to each boy. Here they are, she said. Now you can have races. Katsi yow yow, the twins said at the same time. They seized their toys and scampered with them to the pile of hides where other children were playing. Kaya cut a small piece of hide and tied it with a bit of fringe onto the third little horse's back. Now this one had a saddle. Then she wrapped herself in her elk robe and left the lodge without telling anyone where she was going. Since she wakened, she'd known what she must do. The trail to the burial place led around the sides of low hills. Bare trees cast blue shadows on the thin covering of snow. Coyotes hunting rabbits had left tracks in the snow, and she saw the wing prints of a hawk that had swooped down for a kill. On the east-facing side of the hill, she turned off the trail. There were many graves here, marked with rocks. Mourners had left small gifts on some of them. Kaya went to the place Swan Circling was buried and put the little horse made of pine needles on her grave. I've been thinking about things, Kaya said softly to her friend. I want you to know I'm going to live up to your expectations and that I'm grateful for your trust and your name, but I hope to get my sister back before I use it, and maybe my horse too. I want to deserve what you've given me. I want your people to think well of me when they call me by your name. Kaya looked back at her village. In the cold, only dogs moved between the lodges. Everything was quiet, but soon family and friends would return for the winter spirit dances, and the village would be crowded again. She stood a moment more, squinting into the morning light that flooded the long, broad valley, and then she started home.